Awards are being presented tonight to three very deserving people, and one person unfortunately can't be here, the CEO of RBC, but he'll be joining us at another time. So to introduce our next speaker, many of you will remember this gentleman. He's the originator, or one of the committee, sorry, he keeps giving me these looks when I say that. He is one of the committee who originated the Young Alumni Achievement Award back in 2011. For which our next presenter is one of tonight's recipients. So Dr. Ian Goulden, please.
Thank you, Mark. It's wonderful to have two young alumni here today. I feel really quite old, but I don't need a cane, at least to be up here. It was fantastic to hear Joanna's presentation. And I was remarking before her talk about how wonderful I thought it was to break the stereotype of mathies and no personality and only formulas, although I'm the no personality type, of course. That's why they kept me at the university and didn't send me out into the world. So it was wonderful to hear Joanna's presentation about fashion and her fantastic company that she's built from scratch. Our second Young Alumni Achievement Award winner today is, you really do look very young to me. And this is very impressive for an old guy. Zhou. William received his BMath in 2015. He sounds to me like a serial entrepreneur because in school it started his first business. He said very modestly to me it was just building websites and that sort of thing. And we all know that it's much more involved with that. But he now has that behind him. You sold that? Great. He is currently co-founder and CEO of another venture called Chalk.com. And Chalk.com is used in schools, educational software, from kindergarten to grade 12, I understand. And he just told me that it's in use in 200,000 schools. 200,000 teachers? Fantastic. Across largely North America, but also in the UK and further afield. He is a winner of a Forbes Top 30 Under 30 award. And he's going to tell us more about his fantastic company. And with my congratulations, William, I'll turn things over to you.
Good call. Hi, everyone. Certainly hope you all enjoy this afternoon. So what I want to talk about today is a little bit different, right? Typically, these type of things I get to talk about, how we all built the startup, how we built the business. But today, I want to talk about how my business built me. A little bit different, right? Shake it up a little bit. And really, we had started this company, right, called Chalk.com. I'll give you a little bit background. And for us, it's about helping schools to improve based upon data, right? Data about informing what decisions they can make, what decisions to make so they can have better operational efficiency, better outcomes, student outcomes or student achievement. And we help teachers with whether it's their workflow, their to-dos, their planning needs, all of those sorts of things, right? So I can talk hours and hours on end now about education, believe it or not, but today's not this, right? Today, I want to give you a little peek into how we built up this company, just a couple minutes, but I want to talk about three different stories, right? Three different stories about really how this business shaped who I am today. So let's take it back a little bit. 2012, for those of you who don't know, this is the Velocity Residence, right? One of our residences on campus, and this is really where the ideas started coming together, right? This whole thing came from really my own teachers. And teachers who I thought, well, your job is relatively easy, right? You just get up here and talk and deliver, and that's it, right? It's not the case, right? That's not the case. And in fact, these were not just mentors, they're now friends, and every time I visit home, which is Vancouver for me, I go listen to their stories. And believe it or not, every time I hear something new, something different, and just how much of a struggle, how much of a pain they have in their workflow, right? So we started with this concept of really just helping my own teachers and broaden it from there. And boy, was that rewarding, right? Boy, was that, actually helping out real people, right? People that I knew, people who shaped who I am during high school, right? And you all may know about startup. This is probably one of the images that in your mind, and we actually lived through this in 2013. which at the end of 2013, we actually went full time. So this is in one of the Velocity garage at the time, and you can sort of see, there's this picture at the background, there's a bunch of Nerf guns that we actually, funny enough, didn't get to play all that much because we're so busy just coding away. But it is really rewarding, right? Seeing really just you creating something out of nothing, okay? And of course, the pizza box adds to this picture, right? Didn't position it this way, but we had a lot of late nights, right? A lot of late nights, coming home at, after midnight, just coding away and building this original product. That was something that we almost ourselves now romanticize about, because it was just this magical moment where we didn't have to worry about anything. We didn't have to really think about anything apart from just the product itself. And in Waterloo, we have amazing talent, right? We have some of the greatest computer scientists. We have amazing technical talent. We can build amazing products, right? And this is what we did. We knew how to do it, so we did this, right? But then really comes the challenge, because you're not just building a product, you're building a business. And quite frankly, it was rather difficult when we did go full-time, and things were really tough. We did not know how to tackle this market. Quite frankly, we didn't really know much about the market, right? It came out of a desire to really help, right, personally, help my own teachers. So when we looked at the market, how do we bring it to market? How do we sell? How do we get customers? How do we convey our ideas? Well, that's hard. Nobody taught us how to do that. We don't know how to do that. And I remember we ended up really our first year with, I believe, 80 subscriptions we used to sell to teachers back in the day. Horrible idea, did not work out at all. I ended up with a couple $1,000s in the bank, right? Not a sustainable business, and it just was not working. So we had a choice to pick, right? Either continue down this path or really just seriously look at what we're missing, right? And we did. We looked at what we're missing because we realized, first of all, boy, building a company is hard. Okay, it's really, really hard. There's a lot of complex components. And when you make something, right, this product, making something isn't just enough. They're not going to just come flock to you. What we found was that, upon seeing my peers, right, I visited school districts, I talked to superintendents, I talk about, what are the issues they're facing. I talked to my entrepreneurial peers in the United States. Boy, they're really good at conveying their ideas. They're really good at the soft skills. And that's when I started to realize these soft skills are wildly underrated. Because at Waterloo, we are so good at the technical component, but I think this is one point we're really overseeing today. And so really want to focus our attention today on three things that I've sort of picked up over the years, and by no means this is encompassing everything, and there's a lot that we have to all learn. But just to give you an idea, we improved on our craft. We now know how to convey these ideas, and today, this is progress, right? We've learned, and this is the progress that we have today. 200,000 teachers that we have reached, which is the equivalent of 3 million students, right? And you really see that taking off as we learn more and more. Articles, Forbes to Huffington Post, they're saying great things, right? Chalk.com is like the Microsoft Office for teachers, right? So, and at the end of the day, when it comes to education, when it comes to delivering these software, it's rewarding, right? Everybody, I think, in the company knows that. You're fixing something, you're actually solving somebody's problem. You know that it's impacting, right? And you know that it has an impact. And I think that drives a lot of our decisions. So with all of that, right, just a short synopsis of our company and how we came to be, I want to talk about these three things because this is really relevant to me. From building meaningful relationships to expanding your perspective, and 3, stepping out of your comfort zone. So we'll just go through each one bit by bit. Got a little bit of a story to share in every one of them, and at the end, happy to obviously take questions and answers because I think it is relevant, right? I graduated 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, right? And coming from the position of applying to co-op jobs, internships, to now we're vetting hundreds of applications, right? So let's start with the first one, building meaningful relationships. So many times, right? I think we all understand this as students, as people who are growing up. people are telling you, you need a network, you need to know people, you need, essentially to get to know people, you need to have a network, but nobody tells you how to build that network. And I remember when we started, right? So when I started, I guess as you define being an entrepreneur before the word was cool, I started my first company in grade 10. It was, we were helping out companies build out websites, right? In a more sort of modern fashion, and eventually we started productizing some of our items that we did. And I remember at the time, even starting that business, people said, well, you should get to know more people. You should go to these meetups. You should meet more people, expand your horizon, do all these sorts of things. It sounds very, very relevant. And I thought, being a 16 years old kid, and saying, well, I should probably get out there. Well, let me tell you how. So I grew up in Vancouver, and we have these chain stores called Linden Drugs. And they're pretty much like a drug mart, right? You have a lot of necessities, such as this Avery double-sided printable business card. So I bought these, okay? I bought these, fed it through my printer, and printed out business cards, right? 20 business cards per page, I think, at the time. And guess what we designed it in? Microsoft Word, right? We would design it in Microsoft Word. Sometimes it doesn't line up, but it does good enough a job, right? Put our logo there. We printed it out. And when you print it out, it's this one giant sheet, right? You break it apart, and now we have 20 business cards. Now I'm feeling really good, right? Because I got it in my pocket, going to these meetups, and I don't know how to network, right? I'm going, what am I supposed to do? So guess what we did? My then co-founder and I basically went to these meetups, and we would just start saying hi, give our business card, and walk away. We had no idea how to actually build any meaningful connections. And in fact, we were so shy that all we wanted to do was just give away these 20 business cards that we would hold to all these meetups. Sometimes we don't even give them all the way, right? Which is a wrong metrics. So this is what it looks like. Ignore the hairdo. It's a different time back then, okay? And of course, we'd rather take pictures than actually talking to people, right? We didn't know how to talk about ourselves. We didn't know how to talk about our ideas. And this was a big issue, right? Later on, of course, what we learned was that it's about quality, not quantity. Right nowadays, I barely even carry any cards. It's about, well, can we rather have 3 good quality conversations that I can add value to you and you can add value to me than go out and print out these printable business cards and hand them out, right? So we've learned a whole lot. And I think this is something that it's not immediately trivial, but it's very applicable to, say, students like yourself, right? You are applying for jobs. And believe me when we say, we get a lot of email, right? Dear hiring manager. Guess where that goes? Straight in the trash can, right? And so when I got this, right, I get these kind of email. This is yesterday, literally yesterday, right? Looking for insight, free coffee involved. Didn't have to say that. But legitimate email, wanted to grab 20 minutes and showed his interest, clearly knew what he was talking about. It's things like this that now captures at least my attention, right? It's things like this that really, look, if you want to have a quality conversation, I'll invest the time as well, right? But if you're just blanketing, dear hiring manager, that doesn't help anybody, right? And I hope that's relevant because I know it is the co-op season. Interviews are going to start very soon. And so really for us, for me, myself, I've learned that, wow, that when you start building up these actual meaningful relationships, boy, are they helpful. And part of the reason that we are where we are today. Now, as you talk with more and more people, you get to sort of expand your perspective, your horizon, and whatever that is, because you can maybe think about one thing. Somebody may contribute, come into the conversation, think about something else, build on an idea, and soon enough, it'll be something totally different, right? Whereas if you worked on it in silo, you couldn't really get to. So expanding your perspective is hugely important to me. Now the next part I'm not really proud of, but I will show you what it is. This is actually my transcript, okay? 2011, in my 2A term, not my proudest moment. I've definitely got better grades than this. Introduction to combinatorics, okay? In my defense, lots was going on, a little bit tougher class. But by the way, that has led me to find my current co-founder because I always went to him for homework help, which is great. But here's the thing. Whether it's this or whether it's the fact that, I recognize I love computer science, I love, this subject matter, I love everything about it, but here's something where I realize is even more important, right? And maybe this is after the fact that I've realized it. And that is when you started actually diversifying. What I did, as a computer science student, we had a lot of freedom. Kudos to math faculty. We had a lot of electives to take. I started dropping in. This was modern art history, right? Learn about pointillism, learn about all these fascinating things that I did not understand when I was just coding along, right? That had an implication in our design today, right, as ever. I took speech communications, public speaking, right? Probably the most nerve-wracking thing. You are told, right, in speech communications class, everybody would write a topic, and you pull one out. You had 10 minutes to prepare on a topic you have never even heard about, and to talk a minute in front of the whole class. Nerve-wracking, right? Couldn't have done it before. Now I'm doing it, right? One day, my good friend said, would you like to come to my film studies class? I said, why not? Because we're going to watch a film, right? This is brilliant. I love this class already. We ended up going several more times, Citizen Kane, Singing in the Rain, all these different types. Amazing, right? It just builds on your character and widens your perspective as a human being. And, another class I will say is anthropology. I remember taking that and really, really loving the differences in cultures that they were teaching us. And guess where that impacts us today? Because we're a global company. We got to deal with differences in cultures, right? So when I did all this, perhaps I had the foresight, perhaps not. But now looking back, boy, was that a good idea. And the thing is, if you had those chances, why not diversify a little bit? Why not look at some of these other focus areas? And why not almost put together your interdisciplinary studies, right, as students? And so really, this is what I attribute a lot of our current success to, because you think about strategy, you think about all this, is business, it's tech, it's everything, right? It's not just one field you're studying. And this has really been instrumental in our success. And really the last part, a little bit cliche, stepping out of your comfort zone. But for me personally, I will tell you, doing this type of thing, it never was easy. Okay, I was a shy, computer science, like, let me code, let me do my thing. It wasn't just extroverted guy standing in front of a whole of people and start talking, right? Those are all learned skills. And for me, I remember back in end of 2014, we got this email. We had made some good connections because I learned actually how to network. And at the time, we were just starting, but this email said, hey, would you like to come? We have this amazing speaker spot in Munich at a conference called DLD, which they told me that it's like the TED equivalent, okay? Digital life design. And a lot of great people went to it, right? A lot of top executive, top CEOs went to it. And for me, it was like, first of all, I know nobody there. Second of all, I got to travel halfway across the world to give a talk in front of God knows how many people on a topic that really a company that I've just started not that long ago, right? Scary things. But I had gotten out of my comfort zone and I said, well, why don't I just hit it hard and just go, right? And it was definitely not uncomfortable, but guess what? Ended up speaking on the stage, ended up meeting some great, amazing entrepreneurs, some great, amazing peers that even today I keep talking to, right? Keep up with. And these are friendships that I would never really made had I not gone on this amazing journey. And it's things like that reminds me every day, boy, I gotta put myself out of the comfort zone. Coming into this room, I think the last speaker was speaking on the similar term in that that's really when you start learning, right? That's really when you're, implementing new things or figuring things out, implementing. If you're just comfortable every day, you're not learning a whole lot, right? And so, I'll give you a little funny story at this conference. A very interesting project they did, so to speak. And they put together all the tech CEOs and giants, a lot of them were there, into this sort of what they call old masters, right? So they Photoshop everybody's head onto these sort of oldish era clothing. Looks pretty neat, right? See, if I wasn't a speaker and if I didn't actually end up there, I clearly would not have this picture now being photoshopped and displayed, actually still on their Facebook page, right? They still have this amongst a bunch of other people. But now I can clearly say this is there, and without really getting out there, couldn't have known, right? Couldn't have done this, couldn't really have been where I am today, and all of that, right? Your stage is going to be forever bigger, and then eventually, ideally, you get to the world stage. So those are my 3 little short stories, and I hope the message resonates with you because it really is important to me that we start talking about these soft skills. I think Waterloo, we have some amazing talent. We have some great technical skills. But at the end of the day, if we can add this last component, if we can add this soft skill piece, I think we're going to be golden. So that's us. Whoops. We're hiring at Chalk.com. We've been growing pretty rapidly recently. There's applications open on Waterloo Works. There's also Chalk.com/careers. Definitely check us out. We would love to talk to you, especially if you're interested in education, if you want to solve a big problem, and if you want to just work at somewhere that's really rewarding and has a big impact. This has really been something that I wanted to talk to the Waterloo community about for a while now, and I'm really glad to be here. Thank you.
Before you take some questions, William, and I hope I don't embarrass you. I'm not going to try to, honest, but I'd like you to tell the story about leaving Waterloo and then making the decision to come back because you actually quit school. Well, quit the right word? Man, took a sabbatical maybe from your studies.
I did. I thought we'd ban that topic. No.
Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that.
Given this is academic. No, I actually left. I dropped out, or I paused school, so to speak, when the company got started. This was 2015. Things were starting to go in really well. Being in computer science, it was very flexible. I was given a lot of flexibility throughout that process. I even took some enterprise co-ops, which means you got credits by working for your own company, right? We had a lot of these infrastructure put in place, and it just worked out. Now, why did I come back? Partially, right? There's always the, hey, parents are asking, right? No doubt about it. But, and also partially because, well, you're in the education industry, maybe you should care about degree, right? But at the end
But you were successful already at that point.
At the end of the day, to me, it's still a very valuable experience, right? University, people, all of the things I've done, and I attribute to really a lot of the, who I am today to, at first it was my high school teachers that shaped me. Now it's my university experience that have really shaped me. And that's really why I came back.
Okay, I'm going to follow it up with one more question. Bear with me, guys, honest. If you had to choose one person in this journey that really kind of, whether they gave you kind of the boot to the rear end or put you on the right path, who would that be? Who was your, I don't want to say mentor, because that might be the wrong word, but who was it that gave you that push in the right direction?
I got to give that to my co-founders. I know that's a little bit of a cheat.
To who? Sorry?
My co-founders.
Excellent.
It's they weren't kidding when they say it's like that you're married to one another. And we've gone through a lot of tough times, a lot of things that we probably won't even get to talk to publicly. But that's what matters. And at the end of the day, it's the relationship with the people that build this business. It's not products, it's not processes, it's the people at the end of the day. And without my co-founders, wouldn't be here today.
Excellent. Now, we do have a few minutes. One of the reasons we decided not to call these presentations or seminars and call them instead discussions is because William has given us a few minutes to take some questions from the audience, from anybody that has anything they'd like to know about Chalk or William or building the business or how it built him. So does anybody have any questions? Please? Sorry? Oh, we have it up here. Thomas has the microphone. He'll actually come to you. It's a quiet crowd.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Oh.
Do we have one? Oh, Glenn has one right down in front here. And you will get an opportunity. I'm going to preface this as well, just while we're getting the mic to Glenn. After William's presentation and before Glenn's, we're going to host a little reception just up in the room behind this. So you're very welcome to come and say hello and welcome each of them and ask them some questions. So, Glenn?
So I thought your points were great. When you hire Waterloo co-ops,
Yeah.
are you finding those soft skills really lacking? Like, now that you're interviewing
Yeah.
and
I feel like I'm being put on the, well, no matter what I say, it's going to be, in some cases, yes. Now, if you're hiring somebody for a very specific role, maybe that skill doesn't need to translate through entirely. But what we're finding, especially at earlier stage, growth stage startups and companies, we need people who are capable to lead. We need people who are capable to put together teams. And even if we believe we're, Waterloo as a community, we're good, I think we can do even better.
it's a very, so I work in sort of a different scale
Yeah, absolutely.
firm, but that is exactly our experience.
Yeah.
And so it is really important to the students in the room, as you are looking for jobs, that's the thing that distinguishes you.
Yeah.
Waterloo students have an incredible reputation for technical prowess, and it is one of the best universities for that. But it was interesting, I found it interesting that at the size of the company you have, where technical coding and things like that are really, really important to your products, that you still find that.
Yeah.
But it's very much so.
At any size, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for an edge in getting that next job, that's the edge you need.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a comment and then ask a question. Glenn, 2 years ago, we introduced as a requirement for all undergrads in math, and there are now more than 7,000, that of their 40 half credits, they have to take 2 in communications early in their degree, one in speech comm, William referred to, that petrifies all of us when we first try it, and one in technical writing in English. And I think that's a really great, well, William and I were talking, I thought that's a great achievement. He says it's a great start. I even believe in self-selection. If we get a few applicants balking because they don't want to do that, that's okay too. But I think we certainly recognize that. And when I started as dean 7 years ago, I heard that message from people, your peers, over and over again. Fantastically, technically adept students, and soft skills are so important. So we do listen, and I think over time that will help. And if we can do better, that's great too.
Yeah.
I'd also like to ask one question.
Sure.
You said. There's a pause in your presentation where you said you were at a stage where you had some number like 80 subscribers and a few $1,000s in the bank.
Yeah.
And you didn't go to Las Vegas and turn it into millions. You did something different. So you referred, I think, to a sort of change of premise. And I wonder if you could just sketch a bit what
Sure.
the change that you made.
Prior to this business, I ran an online sort of SaaS-based software as a service. You could just purchase online. That was geared towards an entirely different market. I've taken that concept to this, assumed that it was going to work, went at it, wanted to solve a problem for my teachers, and it didn't work. And as an entrepreneur, you adapt, you learn. One of the things that we did was actually one of the things that happened was we remember this was during actually one of the courses, computer science courses in second year. We got a phone call from a prospective customer. Now, I have to say we did dip out a little bit, right? answer the call and ask, what are their needs, because they wanted to purchase a lot of licenses. Now, they had then given us this entirely different requirement, told us, look, it's great you're building this thing, but they had almost educated us on the market. And from that point on, we had realized, now looking back, it's very trivial. Listen to your customers, understand what's going on in the market, right? But when you're starting out, a little bit naive, right? Going at it, and now after learning, after hearing, we've, changed the strategy, adapted it. We don't charge teachers anymore, right? Completely different model, and now we finally are finding the success that we are today.
Any other questions? Well, here.
Yep.
Oh, we have
there.
one there.
So I was just wondering how you choose like the group of people that you start up with, because sometimes like you have friends that want to start a company with you, but other times like you're missing that one person, say like the tech person or the website developer. So how would you find that?
Funny thing is, I feel like now I'm constantly missing people just because we're always trying to hire like the right people. But to your point, how do you start? Something in your comment made me a little uneasy, which is, friends coming together saying we want to start a company. I think it always starts with a problem. It always starts with what you want to do rather than let's build a company, right? Not to beat anybody down, but ever heard the term entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneurship now is really, really cool and sexy, I guess. When I started doing something in high school, they didn't even open me a bank account unless I had to get in charge to sign it. That was really tough, went to a bunch of banks. But now it's really interesting, right? So a lot of people are gonna jump into it, but I would definitely encourage you to find something that you actually want to solve, because it is going to be a long and hard journey. And the second thing is, ideally that person comes from somebody or you've worked with, right? It's as with anything. This is going to be a project that is long and enduring. It's not going to be overnight or anything like that. And that's why I think a lot of times, right, hackathons are amazing for idea generation. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get to know anybody from overnight just coding for 24 hours, right? So I would be very careful in picking and finding the correct co-founder and partner.
So I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
So how did you find your co-founders?
Well, I got really bad grades. And I know, one of them I did. I got really bad grades. I went to him for help, and that's part of the story. And obviously, after conversations, we had thought, hey, let's do this. The other part was knowing what you lacked, right? So when we started, didn't know how to sell, didn't know how to work a room, didn't know how to talk to people. I knew I needed somebody who can do that. And during my first co-op, I was in California at a company. I met somebody who is at the end of their Waterloo career, right? So they're about to graduate, and convinced them basically saying, I'm about to embark on this journey, right, to tackle education. You are somebody who can work on this room. You know how to do this, right? And here's what we can accomplish together, because this sounds super cheesy, we complete each other in some ways, right? And that's, obviously now what we've done is we've learned from each other. There's things that, but it's about also compliments, because if you have people who are all the same, that's not going to really help you out at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? I know I have a follow-up one. I'm going to ask William to kind of project a little bit just while we're getting the mic up there. You talked about the entrepreneur and the innovation spaces, which is really all in the last 10 years has really developed or grown.
Yes.
Where do you see that going in the next 10 years? How do you see the entrepreneur and innovation spaces and the innovation corridor building over the next 10 years?
That's obviously is going to continue to grow. What we're actually finding, this is really interesting, is that we see a lot of activity, obviously here in university level, but we're actually seeing a lot of activity starting, believe it or not, at the kindergarten to grade 12 level, right? So think about things like coding now being taught in high schools, right? Think about all those type of things, right? I have administrators that we talk to, our customers, that are hugely excited about maker spaces, right? 3D printing, and secondary school kids, elementary kids, they're really getting into the things like that, right? Whether or not you say that's entrepreneurship, that's a whole entirely different matter. But what I care about is can we get more hands-on activity? Can we help students discover, at the end of the day, their interests faster? And this is a totally topic from education and whatnot, which I could go into for days, but that is really the holy grail, because if we all understand ourselves, if we know what we really want to do and what we like to do at an earlier stage, the better we are.
We do have a question up here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious where you guys are based and why you chose to be based there.
We're based out of downtown Kitchener, primarily for the reason, look, we have an amazing talent pool here. We are here as employers to make sure that we hire from the best and we get the best, right? Being a technology company, the beautiful thing is that you alleviate some of the concerns with, say, if you're running a business where you have to supply and ship and do all that sorts of things. We don't have to do that. We service customers, primarily, Canada, US, but even in South Korea, in United Kingdom, right? It can be anywhere. So really, if you think about internet and all in this entire generation, you can be based really anywhere, but just keep in mind the talent that's going to be around you. And we are very proud of this environment and this region, right, to have this such great talent. A little bit of work to do on the soft skill, as we talked about, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking William. He will be actually recognized later tonight for his award and being the recipient of the Young and Alumni Achievement Award. So please join me. Upstairs, the wall is going to shortly start moving up. I love this building. It is so cool. And we have a small reception in which you can further ask more questions of William or our next presenter, Glenn Ives, who is the CEO of Deloitte Canada. So please join us. Thank you, William, on behalf of the staff. A little gift to celebrate our 50th anniversary here at the faculty. And please join us upstairs for a few minutes. The next session will begin at 3:45.